Hi friends, Susan Kayne here. I just spent the day in Albany and attended the New York Racing for New York Horse Racing and Agricultural Industry Alliance press conference. It was held at the Capitol with Rick Violet from NYHR, Jeff Canizzo from New York Breeders, Senator Bannock, and Assemblyman Gary Pretlow, along with some other notables in our breeding industry. And of course, they delivered all sorts of amazing good news about the productivity of racing and breeding of thoroughbreds and standardbreds in New York. And interestingly, the senator actually coupled in all of the success of HITS, which is a non-thoroughbred, primarily non-thoroughbred show jumping circuit in Saugerties. So I taped the entire press conference for you to review. My concerns as a horse lover are that there is no holistic retirement plan for thoroughbreds or standardbreds in the state of New York. New York is incentivizing breeding, yet there is no real aftercare program in place. There's a lot of different disconnected, really super well-meaning programs that do serve to help, but there are a lot of horses falling through the cracks. Currently, 70% of the American thoroughbred foal crop goes to slaughter, and my concern is that New York is going to end up in the same position by incentivizing breeding without a plan. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be cleaned up on the racetrack in order to have sound, healthy horses retiring from racing so that they are then able to participate in second careers. Additionally, you will hear I asked questions toward that end. One that is very pressing, again, was directed toward Jeff Canizzo at the New York Breeders, and that is the breeders send out an inspector to the farm. So that inspector is essentially on the front lines, and if there's any neglect, any lack of feed, any lack of care, that's a person that's capable of speaking up and reporting. So we don't have a situation as we did with Ernie Paragallo just a few years ago, which resulted in 177 beautiful thoroughbreds, primarily New York breds, being neglected and starved. So I encourage you to reach out to me if you are concerned about the welfare of horses. You know, horses that race until they're 3 or 4 years old, they have a 25-year useful life after that period, times, thousands of horses. So we need to band together, wrap our heads around this, and really come up with solutions that go hand in hand with the promotion of breeding and racing, like you will hear in this press conference.
Good afternoon. I'm Senator Bonasek, and I want to thank the press for being here today. I'm with distinguished leaders in the horse racing industry or the equine industry. What I'd like to share with you, whether you realize it or not, but the equine industry is the second largest industry in the state of New York, only after the dairy industry and agriculture. It generated alone in 2011 33,000 jobs and $4.2 billion. That's how big this industry is. And the horse racing industry is not just about the tracks. It's about much more than that. And I'm going to share with you my personal experiences in my Senate district of what's happening just because of the investment that we make in the horse industry, which happens to be growing. It's a growing industry in the state of New York. In Shunga, which is a little rural community in Ulster County, Mike Kimmelman, who is seated right here in front of me, has one of the top breeding farms in the state of New York. It creates hundreds of jobs. That's there. In Saugerties, Horses in the Sun, Bob Strazzeri, he invested $5 to $6 million in setting up rinks for horse shows from around the world, not only in the United States. Because of the success of that project in Saugerties, he has built a $15 million hotel, conference center, restaurant, retail stores in Saugerties. What I hope to do, with the help of my good friend and colleague, Assemblyman Gary Pretlow, is pass the constitutional amendment on casino gaming. And we would encourage a continual investment at these casinos, at the existing tracks, and invest more money into the horse industry in making it bigger and better. I'm not even talking about the horizontal industries, the people that supply the feed, those that buy the equipment, those that do the maintenance. We go on and on. There's so many ancillary industries that feed off the horse racing industry. In Yonkers, there was over a $40 million investment in expansion down there, which has brought more people to the tracks, especially the track down there. In Sullivan County, there's on the drawing board a $600 million resort project at the existing Racino. My message is simple. We have to keep investing in the horse racing industry, and we encourage the governor, working with the legislature, to put these casinos close to the racinos and the tracks where it's appropriate. It's the governor's plan, and I happen to agree with them, that the casino granting of licenses will be a competitive process, and who comes forward with the best project that will impact the region in a favorable way will get the licenses, assuming the constitutional amendment passes and the public votes for it in November of 2013. Last but not least, I plan on working with the racing industry as a partner to make this industry grow bigger and better, and to try to encourage fan development. Thank you. At this time, my good friend and colleague, Assemblyman Gary Pretlow. Gary?
Thank you, Senator. Good afternoon, everyone. Recently, there was an attack on the racing industry, I guess, first perpetrated by the old gray lady, they call it, the New York Times, and that caused a lot of people to look in to racing. I think that what had happened was extremely unfair. And because of so many people that have absolutely no knowledge of the industry, they've been trying now to take away from that industry. As the senator had just said, there are tens of thousands of jobs are created through the racing industry. And it's not just what you see, you're driving down the highway, you see this pretty horse farm, very pastoral, it looks beautiful, which it is, but on those farms are hundreds of individuals that are laboring to take care of the horses. You see big rolls of grass sometimes. I didn't know what it was, but that's hay. I don't know where hay comes from. But they say hay is for horses, and we have a lot of hay to feed. A lot of farmers that are growing hay to feed those horses, and that's a good thing. The entire industry generates, and with the addition of the VLTs, the Senator mentioned, we're bringing billions of dollars to the state. There is an advantage to those that work in the industry with the jobs and everything, but a direct contribution to the state is over $1 billion this year. Through our Racino operations, we now take into New York State more money than Nevada and New Jersey combined. And that's important to note, that we are, with all the casinos that Nevada has, and New Jersey, which has 12, we take in more to the state of New York. So this is a beneficial thing, and the money that the state takes in from the racing operations, which comes via the racing industry, goes to education, so that's helping our young people. So this industry is the second largest in agriculture, next to dairy farming, as the senator said. But more importantly, it's a catalyst to get a lot of people involved in the racing industry. Something that before I came to the assembly, I only knew about the $2 window, and now I've moved up to the $2 window. Nothing's really changed on that end. But I do love the sport, and I think that what we should do is really push the sport and have more people involved. I had a controversial bill, it had nothing to do with this press conference, but to introduce handicapping as a statistical study in our schools. And people said that that wasn't a good idea because it promotes gambling. But I think what it does do is promote math, and math is math. But anyway, I'm going to close now and introduce Jeff, who's going to take us on for the remainder of the day, right?
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Jeff Canizzo. I'm the Executive Director of the New York Thoroughbred Breeders. We're here today with an alliance of industry associations, known as the New York Horse Racing and Agricultural Alliance. It's made up of owners and breeders groups both on the thoroughbred side and the harness side. And some of them are the Empire State Harness Horsemen's Alliance, the Finger Lakes Horsemen's Benevolence Protective Association, the Harness Horse Association of Central New York, Harness Horse Breeders of New York State, Monticello Harness Horsemen's Association, the New York Farm Bureau, the New York Thoroughbred Breeders, the New York Thoroughbred Horsemen's Association, Saratoga Harness Horse Persons Association, Standardbred Owners Association, and the Western New York Harness Horsemen's Association. The point behind all of them, as you can see, it's wide spanning across New York State. What we've done in the last 6 months was commissioned a new study to show and demonstrate the effect that the equine industry has on the state in terms of economic dollars. Last time this was done was 2005. So it's been nearly 7 years since we've really looked at the figures of how the equine industry has changed in New York and changed the landscape. Well, I can tell you, and it's being distributed here, it's available online as well, the study's figures are dramatic. As the Senator has mentioned, the equine industry has a $4.2 billion, with a B, billion-dollar effect on the state's GDP. It's big business. The even bigger part of that is the fact that the industry, activity relevant to the equine industry, spans 62 counties. For those who don't know, that's every county in the state, where it's all over the map here. There's horses bring jobs. There's 33,000 of them associated with the equine industry here in New York State as of this past year. The equine industry generates around $187 million annually in state taxes. There's over 150,000 horses that populate this state, and there's 1.3 million acres. 1.3 million acres can be attributed to the equine industry. Again, it's big business. It's extremely important for New York State economy. When we're talking about unemployment rates and jobless figures and an economy that's been in a downward spiral, this is an industry that cannot fail and it cannot suffer. Because there's a lot of people dependent on it, and as we just talked about, the trickle-down effect from this industry is very unique, and it goes far. It's very far-reaching. So we're here today to release our study. We have a video production, again, that's available online and on DVD as well, to talk about the faces and the people that are involved in this industry. And I want to introduce a few of the representatives from the Alliance and different associations. So I'm going to hand over to the president of the New York Thoroughbred Horsemen's Association, Rick Bott.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Certainly thank you to Senator Bonasek and Assemblyman Pretlow for being here. They're very, very good friends to our industry, and they've stepped forward today to underline that. It's a very simple story. Jobs are the ultimate goal, and the mantra of the state government these days. And horses are our job creators. For every 10 horses that come into the state for racing, 8 jobs, full-time jobs, come along with it. for every racehorse that comes into the state, $92,000 goes into the gross national product of New York State. As Jeff said, every single county, 62 out of 62 in New York State, has some connection, has some revenue produced by the equine industry. We're pretty proud of the message. We are a significant industry, and I think sometimes we've gotten sidetracked to how important we are to New York State. We're certainly worth everybody's investment, and we're just thrilled that, again, the Senator and the Assemblyman are here, and they have a vision not to get dragged down by the quagmire that we might be in, but to have a vision going forward to see that this industry is on the upswing. Farms are reopening, farms are being purchased, farms are expanding, trainers are training more horses, owners are expanding their businesses as they once left Pennsylvania or Kentucky. They're now returning. We're attracting stallions from Kentucky that were literally entrenched forever in Lexington. They're hitting the highways and heading for New York because of the economic opportunities here and what we offer in the future of racing, both statewide and nationally. It's a great story. The 33,000 jobs are real jobs. This is a very grassroots initiative. It's real people. It's not about the top end. It's about the dry cleaner, the blacksmith, the veterinarian, the people that transport our horses, the people that, the deli that's dependent on the afternoon lunch trade. There are so many connections to every person that is in the state of New York that it's a great story, and we're glad to show it to you today.
So we have a Representative Jeff Williams from the New York State Farm Bureau to mention and talk about the agribusiness component of what we do here.
Hi, good morning. Jeff Williams from New York Farm Bureau, and I'm really happy to be here today because this study, which has been detailed this morning, supports everything that we've been talking about with regard to the agricultural industry for the past decade or more. The horse industry is critical to the agricultural industry in the state across all of those 62 counties that we mentioned before. And it's not just racing, which is incredibly important in breeding, but it's also recreational horse owners in the industry that goes along with horse boarding, the backyard horse owners who have a couple acres and have a horse or two in their backyard which they can ride. That is also detailed in the study. And the importance of those equine operations, it also ranks in the billions as far as economic investment. Because fundamentally, the equine industry is an agricultural industry. Racing all comes back to the breeding of horses, which is agriculture. And as you see some farms transition out of business, the equine industry has bought those farms and brought those farms back into business. And that's incredible to the rural communities across the state. The rural character, the rural economy, because those farms keep the seed dealership in business, keep the tractor dealership in business, keep the veterinarians there. Without those farms, those businesses would wither away. And we can't simply have that in the state. So that is what the equine industry has done for the state, is keep agriculture in New York a green state. Because beyond the jobs, which are immeasurable, it's also about the rural community and the environment. And study after study shows that farms protect the environment over parking lots and suburban sprawl and urban sprawl. And so farms are way more than the industry. It's also environmental protection as well. And that I'd be remiss if I didn't point that out. And that's especially true in counties which are big horse counties and are also more populated, like Dutchess County, Erie County, Saratoga County. So the equine industry is very critical to the state. We're happy that this report shows that, and we're happy to move forward with a new day in the equine industry. Thank you.
And the last person here speaking today is Mike Kimmelman from Blue Chip Farms, which is a standard farm here in the state.
We truly owe also a big thanks to Assemblyman Pretlow and Senator Bonasek for having the vision to launch this program at the beginning. And we've had the privilege of being involved in it for about 9 years or so now. And the interesting thing about this study is that a huge amount of the growth is only based on part of the industry. And our brothers on the thoroughbred side are now starting to just get a taste of what we have seen in the growth side of our business over the last 9 years. And I think along with even more jobs on this next push and the quality of the racing product that we've been able to attract on not just the state level, but a national and international level, being able to bring stallions that were horses of the year and 3-year-olds of the year and continue to be competitive to attract those kinds of horses for our New York product is just going to push things even harder. And I think we will see, if you were to do another study like this in another 5 years, it'll be amazing to see how far we move forward. Thank you very much.
So again, we want to thank the Assemblyman and Senator for being here today and for their support of the equine industry over the years. It's because of them that we're seeing the growth that we are seeing, and it's 75% larger. This business is 75% larger than it was in 2005, and it's a staggering number, $4.2 billion here in New York State. So thank you again, and we'll be here to answer any questions that you may have.
You know, in connection with the chart that indicates the recreation division horse competition horse count, if I understand correctly, the standardbred and thoroughbred competitors that are domiciled in New York State is a relatively small component of that horse count, 50,000. Do you have the numbers?
The number of
actual
competitors, the significance, and I spoke about earlier, for every horse involved in the racing industry, dividing the recreational, they bring in, for every 10 horses, they bring in 8 jobs. For every horse that comes in, there's $92,000 of revenue to the state. That's the set. The racing industry is very, very employment-centric. It's very high maintenance, very, very concentrated. The recreational side of it is significantly important for tourism, for green space, and we feed off of each other. There's overlapping, whether it's veterinarians, transportation companies, feed companies, and the like. So defining the number of horses is significant as far as, I mean, there's 125,000 of recreational horses and about 50,000 racehorses in the state. The economic impact on the racing side is really, really significant because of the high maintenance costs, because of the necessary care, and very, very employment centric. That those shoulders that the racehorses have very broad. They carry a lot of revenue and a lot of jobs on the farm.
Hey, Rick, there's been some talk in Albany about legislation that would restrict thoroughbred competitors to horses that are at least 3 years old. The 2-year-old horses are too young, the horses get developing.
I haven't heard it. We wouldn't support it because the science doesn't support it. The science, and this is a number of worldwide universities, as well as the science done in Kentucky, Dr. Brownwich, Dr. Tobin. The fact is that horses that race at 2 have longer, more productive careers than horses that start their career at 3. They have more starts, they make more revenue, and it sounds a little bit better that we delay the onset of racing. The facts are dramatically in opposite of that. The horses that only start at 3 are not sounder. They don't have more opportunities. They don't race longer. Horses are very, very breed. I don't have any children, so I'm not sure exactly when children walk. But it's 10 months, 12 months. Horses get up and walk the same day they're born. So their maturity compared to a human is so significantly different. They're literally in the wild running away from predators the day they're born. So to try to analyze it in some kind of human terms is really not appropriate. And like I said, the numbers are dramatic. That not racing horses at 2 and does nothing to benefit them either physically, mentally, or the industry.
Senator, maybe the Assemblyman too, you talked about the constitutional amendment to legalize casino gambling in the state, and that you support that. Next year you'll have to approve it again. Would you support it without knowing where those facilities might be located?
I think it's a good question. We haven't had specific discussions on that issue, but my personal opinion is you have to identify where the 7 casinos are so the public could make intelligent choices in a referendum, assuming it passed the legislation in November of 2013.
But you were indicating, Senator, that you think the site should be near existing casinos, the closest possible. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I use the words where appropriate, if you recall.
Okay.
Naturally, it's going to be a competitive process. Right now, if nothing changes going into the new year, there's going to be 7 licenses. I myself would like to see more than 1 in the Catskill region. We have already a history and statutory authority for 3 in the Catskill region, but that's all will be part of negotiations. The governor will be involved, the leaders will be involved, as well as Assemblyman Preplo and myself. And there have been no talks yet with respect to that.
But Senator, just so I'm clear, you'll vote next session on the second constitutional amendment. Will you need to know in advance of that second vote where these things are going to be cited, or at least by region?
Yeah. No. Well, legally the answer is no.
No, legally no. But
I have said that if I have my way, my personal opinion, I believe that you should identify where the 7 locations are so the public can make a more intelligent choice in the referendum. That's one person speaking.
How about the Assemblyman?
Well, I would definitely support the second passage if we do it on January 5th. That's not the problem. The issue is the referendum being passed by the general public next November. I don't believe, as the Senator said, that the public will vote unless they know the who, when, where, what, and hows of these proposed casinos. It's be up to 7, it might be 2, it might be 6, it may be none. I don't know. But the general public, I don't believe, will vote on the constitutional amendment being approved unless they know where those casinos are going to be.
But would you vote for the second constitutional amendment?
I just said yes on day 1 of the legislation.
Yeah, but without knowing where.
Absolutely, that has nothing to do. One has nothing to do with the other to me or to him. To tell you the truth, it has to do with the public. It has to do when you, as the voting public, are going to accept the constitutional amendment that we, the legislature, pass. Then you would want to know where it is. Our job is to get the constitutional amendment on the board, or on the not on the books, but passed, so the general public can vote for it.
But Senator Bonasek obviously wants one in the Catskills. You might be voting for that second constitutional amendment without knowing that one might end up in the Catskills.
But not to speak for the Senate, I don't think he'd vote against it if he knew it wasn't going to be in the Catskills.
Joe, let me actually do that. Any other questions on topic?
Yeah, on topic. I have a question. I think what you folks are saying is that in recent years, more horses have come to the population overall herd in New York State, in the standardbred side of it in particular, but thoroughbreds are beginning to come on as well. I'm wondering if there's any concern among you in this room about the eventual, the ultimate careers of these horses, retirement careers, in terms of the care and the welfare of these animals, when they're no longer able to producing, the brood mares or racers. There's been a lot of concern about the conditions of these animals. These are no longer productive. And we're getting more of these animals, what kind of aftercare services?
There's almost nothing but good news on this subject, a couple, both locally and nationally. Nationally, there's an organization that that New York had a fundamental handle on forming, the TAA, Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance. Involves Jockey Club, Kayne Racing, all the sales companies, and 13 stallion owners out of Kentucky, and there will be a standardized fee structure to support aftercare nationally. On the state side, Thoroughbred Horsemen's Group, Finger Lakes has a terrific aftercare program. We, the breeders, NYHR and NYHR, had a program called Take Two this year where we sponsored thoroughbred only classes at horse shows. We had a sister program called Career 2 that sponsored 10 3-day events, including the championship in New York State. The Thoroughbred Horsemen committed over $200,000 to this initiative moving forward. We are certainly interested in finding second careers for the thoroughbreds especially, and I'm sure harness, standardbred horses. They're better equipped to have a job. It's just standing out on a paddock somewhere doesn't do anybody any good except you eat up some grass. Having a second career, whether it's hunter, jumper, dressage horse, 3-day horse, is our jobs program, and we've jumped in with both feet, both in New York and nationally, to see that this happens.
What about the standardbred study?
Yeah, first, I want to thank you for caring enough about the industry to take the time to put this study together. It's tremendous. And I wanted to address Assemblyman Pretlow's comments on the New York Times. As a lifelong horse owner and breeder, in my opinion, those efforts should be applauded because they resulted in sweeping reform for the safety of horses and humans within the horse industry. Had that not been exposed, we'd be the same status quo we were a year ago. My question was with regard to aftercare, which Rick addressed very adeptly, but do you envision a percentage of the increase in breeders' awards and purse money as a result of Racino funds going to contribute to the aftercare of the horses? Because in reality, a lot of them fall through the cracks. Incentivizing purse money for competition leaves a big gap from the time these horses retire at the racetrack until they eventually get there.
The short answer is everything's on the table. It is a work in progress. The Jockey Club is committed to adding $25 to every full registration. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it'll be $1.5 million, and they'll match it with all of their other changes, name changes, farm name changes, and ownership changes. So there'll be $3 to $5 million that comes out of the Jockey Club. Those like automatic or mandated payments are all on the table, whether it's purses, breeding awards, or whatever. It's in its infancy. It's about a year old. It's been tried time and time again, a decade ago, 15 years ago, 5 years ago, and it certainly hasn't gotten this far. Significant people have jumped in with both feet. And like I said, it's nothing but good news, both on a very small scale, from a very small horse show getting a few $1,000s to have thoroughbred only classes, so somebody can be interested in taking a thoroughbred and going to a horse show and getting something for it, to the nationwide approach through from full certificates all the way to the claiming venue.
And specific to New York, Jeff, is there anything that's going to be done to prevent a situation like Ernie Paragallo, for example, where you do have inspectors that are out in the field, that are first on the scene to see the care and see what's going on farms, that some checks and balances would be put into place?
Right. There already is, actually. The New York State Breeding Development Fund has an inspection program you reference, and where they're reporting on conditions. And those conditions flow through the state and to the racing breeding board. So yes, that's in place. And additionally, if there is any concern or or if someone has actually committed a crime, they're not eligible to partake in any of these programs. So yes.
Just on your, excuse me, on your previous point, this obviously isn't a new issue to any of us. It's been on the agenda of New York State for quite some time. In fact, there is a statutory established retired racehorse task force with experts from the industry, including many people in this room today, who are charged with developing some strategies for addressing exactly these things. So it's not the whole answer, but it's part of the holistic answer as well.
All right, thank you very much.
Well, in assessing the economic impact, is there any look at what might happen if there's an 8th harness track, or if the racing schedule for thoroughbreds changed at all?
No, it was a look at the current environment from this past year in terms of a survey that was done to the New York State populace and based on figures that came out in 2011.
All right, thank you very much, everybody.